The painful process of becoming who God called you to be. Becoming who God calls you to be is one of the most beautiful journeys in the Christian life, but it is also one of the most painful. Vocation is not simply a career or role. It is a transformation of the soul. God does not merely ask us to do something, He asks us to become someone new. And transformation always involves surrender, purification, and sacrifice. Many people imagine God's calling as peaceful and uplifting. Yet Scripture reveals a different reality. The path to holiness often begins in confusion, suffering, and deep inner struggle. This does not mean God has abandoned us. On the contrary, the pain often confirms that God is actively shaping us. God breaks before He builds. Before God builds a mission, He often dismantles our illusions. Human plans, pride, attachments, and false identities must be stripped away. This process feels like loss, but spiritually it is preparation. Look at the life of St. Peter. He loved Christ deeply, yet he also relied on his own strength. He boldly promised to remain faithful to Jesus, only to deny Him 3 times during the Passion. That moment of failure was devastating. Peter's confidence shattered, his self-image collapsed, and he wept bitterly. But this breaking was necessary. Only after encountering his weakness could he become the humble shepherd who would lead the church. God allows painful experiences to expose the difference between who we think we are and who we truly are. Without this humbling, we would never fully depend on grace. The desert comes before the mission in the Bible. God often calls His servants into a desert season before their mission begins. The desert is a place of silence, loneliness, and spiritual testing. It is where distractions disappear and the soul learns to rely on God alone. Even Jesus Christ entered the desert for 40 days before beginning His public ministry. If the Son of God accepted this path, we should not be surprised when we experience spiritual dryness, doubt, or waiting. Many Catholics experience seasons where prayer feels empty and God seems distant. This can feel frightening, but the desert is not punishment, it is purification. God removes emotional comfort so that we can learn to love Him for who He is, not for how He makes us feel. God purifies our attachments. One of the most painful parts of spiritual growth is letting go of attachments. These attachments are not always sinful. They may be good things, relationships, dreams, ambitions, or the desire for recognition. God's call often conflicts with our personal expectations. He asks us to trust Him even when we do not understand His plan. This tension creates deep interior suffering. Consider St. Paul. Before his conversion, Paul believed he was serving God by persecuting Christians. His entire identity was built on his religious zeal and reputation. When Christ appeared to him, everything changed in an instant. Paul lost his former status, security, and sense of control, yet through this painful conversion, he became one of the greatest missionaries in history. God does not remove attachments to hurt us. He removes them to give us something greater, freedom. Obedience requires trust in darkness. God rarely reveals the full plan all at once. Instead, He invites us to walk step by step in faith. This uncertainty can be deeply uncomfortable. We want clarity, guarantees, and certainty. But faith means moving forward even when the future is hidden. The Virgin Mary embodies this perfectly. Virgin Mary received the Annunciation with trust, even though she could not foresee the suffering that awaited her. She did not know about Bethlehem's poverty, the flight into Egypt, or the cross, yet she said yes. The Catholic life teaches that holiness grows through obedience in darkness. Saying yes to God without full understanding is an act of profound love. Suffering unites us to Christ. One of the deepest Catholic truths is that suffering is not meaningless when united with Christ. Suffering becomes redemptive. We participate in His cross and share in His mission of salvation. This does not mean God enjoys our pain. Rather, He transforms suffering into a path toward holiness and compassion. Through trials, our hearts become more like Christ's, patient, merciful, and self-giving. Often, the people God uses most powerfully are those who have suffered deeply. Their wounds become sources of empathy and strength. Their struggles become testimony, the hidden work of God. Much of God's work happens invisibly. We prefer visible progress and clear achievements, but spiritual growth often unfolds in hidden ways: prayer, perseverance, forgiveness, and daily faithfulness may feel ordinary. Yet they shape the soul profoundly. Years may pass before we recognize how God has been guiding us. Looking back, we see that every struggle had purpose. Every delay had meaning, every hardship formed us, hope in the process. The painful process of becoming who God calls you to be is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of transformation. Just as gold is refined by fire, the soul is refined through trials. God never wastes suffering. Every difficulty can become part of His plan if we trust Him. The journey may be slow and difficult, but it leads to freedom, joy, and holiness. In the end, God's calling is not about perfection, but about surrender. He does not expect us to be strong on our own. He asks us to trust His grace. And the beautiful truth is this: the pain will not last forever. What awaits is deeper peace, deeper love, and the fulfillment of becoming the person God always intended you to be. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next video.